Ever wondered how the Ramones, the iconic punk rock band, climbed the ladder of fame? Well, to understand that, we must go back to the beginning, to the birth of the Ramones in the Forest Hills neighborhood of Queens, New York City in 1974. This isn't just any story, it's a tale of four young men with a shared dream and a passion for music. These four individuals, Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee, and Tommy, weren't always known by their stage names. They were born as Jeffrey Hyman, John Cummings, Douglas Colvin, and Thomas Daly, respectively. But somewhere along their journey, they found a unique bond, and in that unity, they collectively adopted the shared pseudonym, Ramone, a name that would soon echo in the halls of rock and roll history. So from a humble neighborhood in New York, the Ramones were born, ready to rock the world. The Ramones didn't rise to fame overnight. Their early days were packed with struggles and determination. The journey of this iconic band began in the gritty clubs of New York City, with CBGB, the birthplace of punk, playing a pivotal role in their story. This was the time when the music scene was dominated by long, elaborate songs. But the Ramones dared to be different. They brought to the table a style that was fast, loud, and short. Their songs barely lasted 2 minutes, a stark contrast to the drawn-out compositions of the time. This was a breath of fresh air, a rebellious stance against the norm, and it left a lasting impression on those who were lucky enough to witness their early performances. Their gigs at CBGB weren't just concerts. They were a spectacle, an experience, an adrenaline rush. The Ramones would take the stage, clad in their signature leather jackets, ripped jeans, and sneakers, and deliver a relentless barrage of tunes one after the other without pause. Their sets were like a whirlwind, leaving the audience dazed and exhilarated. But success in the mainstream didn't come easily. The music industry was a tough nut to crack. The Ramones' unique sound was initially met with skepticism and resistance. It was too raw, too different for the conventional music scene. They struggled to get radio play, and their early albums, though critically acclaimed, didn't fare well commercially. Yet they never let these obstacles deter them. They stayed true to their vision, and their perseverance began to pay off. Slowly but surely, their fan base grew. People started to appreciate their bold, unapologetic approach to music. They were no longer just a band, they were a symbol of rebellion, a voice for the disenchanted. Despite the slow start, the Ramones were setting the stage for a revolution in rock music. They were the underdogs who dared to challenge the status quo, and in doing so, they laid the groundwork for the punk rock movement that would sweep the globe in the years to come. 1976 was a game-changing year for the Ramones, with their self-titled debut album. While the band had been building a following in New York's punk scene, it was the release of Ramones that marked their entry into the global music consciousness. This 14-track powerhouse, clocking in at just under 29 minutes, hit the shelves in April of that year. The album was raw, fast-paced, and stripped down to the basics, a stark contrast to the overproduced music that was prevalent at the time, but it wasn't an instant commercial success. It barely scratched the Billboard Top 100, peaking at number 111, and it sold modestly. However, the album's impact was far more significant than what the sales figures suggested. It was a critical darling, with publications like Rolling Stone and Pitchfork lauding its innovative sound. The album's unpolished, back-to-basics approach resonated with critics and soon-to-be punk rockers alike. It was a breath of fresh air, a rebellious statement that music could be different. It could be raw and real. Among the standout tracks were the opening Blitzkrieg Bop and the romantic I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend. Blitzkrieg Bop, with its iconic "Hey Ho, Let's Go" chant, captured the frenetic energy of the band and became a punk anthem. On the other hand, I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend showed a softer side of the band, a sweet, albeit unconventional, love song. But the true value of Ramones was its influence on the punk rock movement. This album was a blueprint, a manifesto of sorts for punk rock. It inspired countless bands, from the Sex Pistols to Green Day, to pick up guitars and start their own rebellions. It was the catalyst that transformed a local New York movement into a global phenomenon. Ramones might not have been a commercial hit, but it was the spark that ignited the punk rock movement. The Ramones didn't stop at their debut. They kept pushing their boundaries, and slowly but surely they started gaining recognition. Their second studio album, Leave Home, was a testament to this. Released in 1977, Leave Home encapsulated the band's raw energy and unfiltered emotions. It was as if they had taken the spirit of the streets of New York and embedded it into their music. Songs like Gimme Gimme Shock Treatment and Pinhead became anthems for the disenchanted youth. But the Ramones weren't content to rest on their laurels. Later that same year, they released Rocket to Russia. This album was a game changer. It not only established the Ramones as a force to be reckoned with in the punk rock scene, but also showcased their ability to create catchy, radio-friendly tunes. Their music was loud, fast, and rebellious, yet it had an infectious quality that resonated with listeners. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, their influence was beginning to take hold. In the United Kingdom, bands like the Sex Pistols and The Clash were coming onto the scene, their music heavily influenced by the Ramones' raw, unpolished style. The Ramones were not just making waves, they were causing a tsunami in the music world. Their first national TV appearance on Sha Na Na only solidified their growing popularity. It was a strange sight, 4 lads from Queens, dressed in ripped jeans and leather jackets, performing on national television. But it was a sight that captivated viewers. Their performance was electric, their energy palpable. They were no longer just another band from New York, they were the Ramones, and they were here to stay. Their journey to fame wasn't easy. It was filled with countless rehearsals, late-night gigs, and endless touring. But their perseverance paid off. They had made their mark on the music scene, influencing countless bands and inspiring a new generation of musicians. The Ramones were now not just a band, but a phenomenon influencing bands across the pond. The Ramones might have disbanded in 1996, but their legacy continues to reverberate in the music industry. This band, born from the gritty streets of Queens, New York, created a sound that's been imitated, but never duplicated. Their signature style, a fusion of stripped-down rock and roll with a punk edge, has left an indelible mark on the music landscape. In 2002, 6 years after they played their final chord, the Ramones were recognized for their contributions to music and inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Hall praised their brash, hard-driving sound and acknowledged them as the first true punk rock band. Their influence, it said, could be felt in countless bands that followed. A few years later, in 2011, the Ramones were again recognized for their enduring impact on music. This time, they received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, an honor bestowed upon artists who have made significant artistic contributions to the field of recording. It was a fitting tribute to a band that had, in their own words, started out merely trying to save rock and roll. The Ramones' influence extends far beyond accolades and awards, though. It can be heard in the music of countless bands who've covered their songs over the years. U2, Pearl Jam, Green Day. These are just a few of the many bands who've paid homage to the Ramones by putting their own spin on the band's iconic tracks. But perhaps the most significant part of the Ramones' legacy is their influence on punk rock and music in general. They pioneered a new sound, one that was raw, fast, and loud. They stripped rock and roll down to its bare bones and injected it with a dose of punk attitude. Their songs, often clocking in at under 2 minutes, were a direct response to the overblown, overly complex rock music of the time. They proved that you didn't need a 5-minute guitar solo to make a great song. All you needed was 3 chords, a catchy melody, and a whole lot of attitude. In doing so, they laid the groundwork for the punk rock movement and inspired a generation of musicians to pick up their instruments and start bands. They showed the world that anyone could make music, regardless of their technical ability or musical knowledge. Their influence can still be heard today, in bands who carry the punk torch and in the spirit of DIY music making that they helped to foster. They may no longer be with us, but their music, their attitude, and their legacy live on. From a neighborhood in New York to the Hall of Fame, the Ramones' journey is a testament to their talent, determination, and their unwavering love for music.